again? Where?
9.
9 in the morning?
9 in the morning.
Mhm.
Hello, Paina. Evening. How are you?
Yeah. How is everybody?
We are fine. How are you?
Okay.
Okay, I think Jan is ready.
Yes.
Jan, how are you?
Sorry, Cap. Hello, hello, hello.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Yeah,
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
Is there something you'd like to talk about?
Tadao, were you discussing bringing up some topic last week that wasn't finished or anything you wanted to discuss further?
No, but I have a small question. I'd like to know the proper way of developing metta bhavana. How can one develop metta bhavana?
Would you like to understand what metta is before talking about it?
Yes,
But what is it?
it's a wholesome cetasika which thinks about the benefit or welfare of other people.
Is it me or I or anyone?
Yeah, it's still I.
But the truth, the absolute truth, which is not known yet. So we talk about whatever is now to understand its truth. Otherwise, that cannot be the understanding, the truth of it at all.
Mm.
So the point is to understand what is there now. Otherwise, there cannot be any understanding of anything at all in life. Just live blindly, born, death,
Mm.
be born and then die. That's all. Before death comes, so many things happen to cling to as something all the time and then gone, never to return at all. So what is the use of birth to just experience as different things from moment to moment and then gone, nothing is left at all. So while it's not death yet, what is the use of just hearing, smelling, thinking, experiencing, uncontrollable? No one can stop the arising of each moment now to be different ones, unknown as it is. We are talking about metta. There's I and metta, but what are them. It's still me, and thinking about that, never understand the truth, that what is exactly that in truth. Even we talk it's kindness, or it's what and what and what, but what is the absolute truth of it? Is there now? If there's no conditions for its arising, can it arise no matter what at all? Just talk about anything, there must be conditions for it to arise, to appear, and then disappear instantly. Never change. This is the absolute truth in life, from life to life. Nothing. That's all. No I at all, no one and no thing. But they appear something all the time because of the rapidity of the arising and falling away in succession. So just listening to the truth of what is there now, just to understand the truth before death, that's all. That's all. To understand what is there is the best thing. Otherwise, born blindly and die, and no more, never to arise again. Just like previous or last life, many experiences just like now, and then gone, never to return at all. And thinking, just thinking, dreaming about this and that. But what is the truth? Just thinking about that which is not there anymore. So what appears is that which is real. It's conditioned to be as it is. But when there is no understanding, wrong understanding just takes the marks, the shape and form of what appears as something permanent, like I, yesterday, I just in the morning, and then I now, and then I yet to in the evening. But where's the I? Just a moment ago, and thinking about metta. What for? For the I to have it, to cling to it, like it, want to have it, on and on. And not only metta, everything now is the object of attachment unknowingly. As soon as one opens one's eye, it's there. Ignorance, attachment, I, thing, round, from moment to moment, and then tomorrow will come. What about now as yesterday, as tomorrow's yesterday? So what is metta? To have compassion.
I do not have much metta. It's the reason why I'm asking what is the proper way of developing metta.
Yes, but what about the understanding of metta? Is it useless to know it, to understand it, the absolute truth of it, that sound has gone, the thing about metta gone, everything gone? It's so very subtle, but it can be realized, it can be discerned, it can develop to understand absolutely, perfectly, that actually there is no thing even just right now. The sound's gone. Thinking about it, that's gone. Everything just at the moment when it's there. If there's no metta, what is that? Should it be known to be understood that it cannot be taken for anything at all because it's not there anymore. So, what is better? The best thing in life, understanding the truth of what is there which hasn't been understood before. Would you like to have metta now? At moment of listening, Is there someone there with you, or on the street, in the restaurant, anywhere? What about metta? To be friendly to everyone. And when panya is there, because there is no one there at all, only different realities. Metta is not attachment, but it's the kindness, friendly, do not want to hurt anyone, just share them with the best thing in life, because no one can understand it without hearing the absolute truth from the enlightenment of the Buddha. So what does it mean, enlightened for him only? Or did he teach for the others to realize that too? And now we are hearing the words that no one can talk about or can say it at all. Only right understanding at level of realization of the truth can condition the words of truth to be understood as it is. It's so rare in life because we hear many things, but not about the truth of what is there now. So very, very precious, because from ignorance, there can be less ignorance because of understanding the truth of what is there. But the truth is so very, very subtle. Each word of the Buddha is so true. No one can change it at all. No one can deny at all, because he just thought about what is there now. And what is the now is so true. That which is not now is not true because it hasn't arisen. It does not appear. That's why Buddha taught in detail so very deeply about the truth of what is there. But it right understanding can develop to understand it, as kindness can be developed too, but not from thinking, clinging to the I. When there is the idea of I, and we think that we have kindness or friendliness, but what for? For I, and where's the I? No I, only ignorance and attachment. When there is a moment of experiencing an object, no one there, only the experiencing, but ignorance of seeing takes that which sees as I, that which hears as I, that which thinks as I, that is kindness as I, friendliness as I. So that is I. So what is the use of listening to the absolute truth of reality right now if it does not condition the development of understanding, getting closer, a little closer to the truth? What Buddha said from his enlightenment is so true, never changed, to everything which is now appearing. If seeing does not arise, there cannot be seen. And the object which is seen has to arise too. And it has to impinge on the ideas. Without the ideas, there cannot be seen. So where is the I? As where is the kindness to be object of clinging, wanting to have it more and more? But attachment is there as the second noble truth. So very deeply is there. Everything is so very subtle, deep down to the truth that now nothing is there because it has arisen and then gone. What appears is only that which can be the object of experiencing, which arises by conditions. Is that not true? And this is the truth of life each moment, no matter this life, previous life, last life, future life, non-stop, as long as there are conditions for the arising of what is now appearing. So the source of ignorance is this very moment, not understanding what is there. On and on and on, more and more and more. So how can it be easily eradicated without considering what is there? As we have heard, whether it's true or not, seeing is experiencing visible object. At that very moment, no idea about any word, but the truth is there, experiencing now. And the object, we don't have to say visible object or whatever, it's there beyond word. That's why the word without understanding cannot lead to the understanding of the truth of what is there now. So patience is parami. Without patience, without virya parami, kanti parami, satya parami. How can what is there now reveals itself as not anyone at all, not anything at all? It's only the moment of experiencing what is there, which is experienced. That's all, and then gone. And that can be developed. And what is that developed? Right understanding, no one there. But when we talk about kindness, is there enough understanding of it's not self, it's not me, it's only the moment when a reality which is friendliness is there. So what is better in life? Because when there is more understanding, there is more kindness or friendliness for sure. No matter what is fish or dog or cat or monkey, seeing is just seeing the same. Hardness, no matter it's dog or cat, hardness is just hard. No one there at all. And this is so true, but it takes time to let go. What as one takes for self at moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, liking, disliking, ego or whatever is there, stinginess or whatever, it's so true when it's there and then gone. No one there at all. This is the accumulation of that which arises again and again and again. So how much ignorance and attachment from moment to moment to be known from the very beginning. If there's no talking moment about it at all, how can there be condition for thinking and considering the truth of life at any time? It's there. The truth is there. No one. So it's so natural because no one, whatever is now, is conditioned by so many different conditions. And without the teach of the Buddha, the enlightened one, how can anyone even think about the truth? But at the moment of thinking, little by little about it, what is there is so much more, very subtle than anyone can expect. No one, no thing, only a reality arising, experiencing an object, and then gone. Without the direct experience, the realization of the truth, it's impossible to let go the idea of self and things or atta. As Buddha said, all dhammas are anatta. All realities are so very subtle. And when we think about what is there now, it's not as subtle as what Buddha has enlightened. That's why begin just to develop the understanding, to let go ignorance and attachment. So each word of the enlightenment, the one who had realized the truth of everything, is just for letting go the idea of self, which is wrong, because nothing can be taken for self. That which is seen is only that which is seen. That which that which experiences. It's only that which experiences. When we hear this word and we say, there must be truthful to the truth, to the absolute truth of each word, which is so true. It arises and falls away. It's so true when it's not there yet, and when it's there. No understanding, no attention, thinking about other things. So how can the moment of what appears now arises and falls away, can it be known? When there's no even thinking about it, that it's there. But what is it? And this is a very, very subtle path to let go, that clinging to the I and something in life each moment right now. So it takes quite a long time to really eliminate the wrong understanding to whatever at any time. Otherwise, it cannot be understanding the truth of that which is there now. So how can it be eradicated? Understanding the subtlety of the truth of what is there is the way to let go. The idea of trying to do, wishing to understand, and so on, and have this and that, like metta and understanding. So, what do people think about? Do they like to have metta, or do they really see the benefit of understanding?
And Ajahn has been stressing the importance of understanding in whether it's the development of metta or whether one is thinking of any other aspect of the Dhamma. But I think, and we can see how important understanding is when we consider that, okay, we would like to have more metta. Everyone would appreciate the benefit of having more metta. But we are the victim, if you like, of our accumulated tendencies. So whether one's normal way of reacting to other people is with attachment or with dosa, or a combination of both, that is the way it is for each of us. And the more that is understood, then the more one appreciates that for the other person, who is the object of our consciousness at any given time, that person also is the victim or the subject to their accumulated tendencies. They are just as they are by conditions, not better, not worse. And that is one of the aspects of that realization, is one of the aspects of metta, in the sense that one understands the other person is like us, is bound by life in samsara. It can't be different. So one accepts the other person as they are. One does not find fault with them. One regards the other as subject to their accumulated tendencies, not as someone who could be different from what they are. And when we talk about metta, it means only that the citta is kusala. There's no particular way that the kusala citta can be described. There's no particular kind of thinking associated with the kusala citta. It's just that it's founded on the understanding that Ajahn has been discussing. And if understanding is developed, then there'll be more kusala towards other people, more kusala in one's life generally. over a period of time, and thus more kusala towards other beings. So one doesn't need to be particularly concerned about one's lack of metta. It will develop naturally if one appreciates the importance of developing understanding.
And I think we've discussed a lot about the importance of patience. Ajahn mentioned it a little earlier, and also contentment. Whatever appears now is that which appears. We talked about, I think, doubt last time, or fear, or attachment, different realities, but whatever appears is just that. It's just conditioned. It's not my impatience or my fear or my dosa or my metta. So it is just as it is. And the clinging to having more metta for oneself, or more understanding for oneself, or experiencing a different object, all of this is the real hindrance to the natural development of understanding, metta, and all the paramis, all that is good, because it is the clinging to oneself, my lack of metta, my doubt, not understanding that what appears is just a conditioned reality and then gone, of no consequence at all. So I think that the understanding of dhammas as anatta is the real condition for the development of metta and what is good, but not by trying or wishing or selecting it as opposed to any other object, because no one can change what arises now, what appears right now.
Okay, I think I've understood what you are saying. So if one have a desire to develop metta bhavana, that desire is a desire, it's attachment. And also it's bound by, associated with the notion of self. Self is trying to do something. So that is not the right way of developing metta. So
Right.
just see realities as they are. That would eventually lead to more moments of having more moments of kusala, including metta. Is it right?
Because of the understanding, like now, when there is that strong clinging to I, and I being the one with more metta, that clinging can be understood too, because it's just a Dhamma, so different from moments of kindness when there is consideration for the other's welfare. So it's only through understanding the different dhammas and understanding them as anatta, conditioned. No one can stop the clinging. No one can stop the wishing for this or that, but understanding how it is the opposite of metta and just conditions more and more clinging, more and more obsession with the self. So understanding has to gradually let go of that clinging to the idea of I and my kusala and my akusala, and by understanding the nature of different dhammas as just dhammas, not belonging to me or anyone. This is the way that not just the understanding, but the kusala will develop more and more naturally. So it's the opposite of what one would like to do or like to think.
And I think we can say less wanting to have more metta and more appreciation of the value of metta and of its nature too. And we can think of qualities such as tolerance, being tolerant to other people, accepting other people as they are, being considerate, being an understanding person in one's interaction with other people. These are ordinary, dare I say, conventional values, and I've known you for many, many decades to Tao, and I know you have a lot of those sort of qualities. So maybe you don't quite see them in yourself. Maybe you're thinking of metta as something more special or a particular way of thinking about people. And no, just any kind of kusala that involves one's interaction with other people is bound to involve metta. So it arises in daily life from time to time, naturally, spontaneously. But it's not noticed, it's not understood, it's not recognized. And Ajahn always says it has to begin with now. And now there is opportunity for kusala citta. It happens. Wants to say, one tries to help other people. That's a natural part of one's makeup. And I know it's part of yours. So it's better to appreciate what is there than to be wishing for more of something that isn't properly recognized.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. I've got it. Here I have another question to Kunsuchin. I'd like to know the meaning of Adhan Lalen in Thai. It must mean joyous and encouraging. And I do not know which is which, but I'd like to ask what they are because I tend to have the feeling of total sort of discouragement. So how can one have such sort of nice feeling is my question.
Okay. So what can cure such the opposite of what you have said?
Total
Because
discouragement.
Dhamma is so very, very subtle, like now, seeing now. It's not just one moment, many moments. So it cannot be directly experienced very easily or soon. So without patience to know, to understand the truth, that it is quite a long, long time to develop the understanding little by little of seeing, to understand the truth of it. At this moment, what do you feel? So long, not in anyone's control. Ignorance cannot go away so soon. When there's no understanding, it's there. So what do you feel? Too hard, too difficult. It's not easily known. So what?
I know that one has to have a tremendous amount of khanti, patience.
And without understanding one reality, one word at a time, can it lead to understand what is there closer and closer to the truth? So what is there now? It's not the word, but the reality. What is there? Just what you said. Kusala is opposite of a kusala.
Mm.
Be patient is opposite of not being patient. Courage and without courage. It's there all the time, but no understanding of anyone, because not understanding this moment as no one and no self. That's why learn to understand what is there in a moment, from moment to moment. For example, how do you know that you don't have metta and you want to have it? What are there at that very moment? Does it not take so long time to really understand what is there as not me? So when we think about the absolute truth, there can be the understanding from the very beginning, firmer and firmer, no one and no me. Otherwise, that cannot be the way to attain the truth, the enlightenment. Just cling to what is there right then and on and on. So now, what do you think or what do you feel or what is there at the moment when it's so very, very difficult, so subtle to really be acquainted to even just the characteristic which is not self from the very beginning. What is not self-seeing? Is it now? Be acquainted to the nature of it? Or just hearing and developing by itself, no one there at all? Because the absolute truth is no one. And this is the teaching of the Buddha. So no matter what you're talking about, like patience or courageous and so on, and the opposite, they are there now to be known. And the best thing is to have the right understanding of oneself, not just listen and take it to do. It's impossible. That is not the understanding of the absolute truth. That's why there must be truthfulness to the truth of what is there, as it's not so. It's a reality. One can say that again and again and again. But what about Viriya and Kanti develop to understand the nature of that which is now appearing? No one there at all. And the firm understanding and confidence of the truth will lead little by little to develop the understanding of that which is now appearing. Naturally, very little, very vague in the beginning, but it become more and more sharper and sharper to let go the idea of self from what is there in life at any moment. All moments in life has to be known, developed to let go the idea of self. What is courageous? See again. No,
Yeah, I'd like to know what courageous means.
when it's so difficult, it takes time to gain, to get, to attain. When one is lazy and not seeing the benefit of understanding at all, so one just take the other things so much important than understanding the truth of what is there now. We learn, we listen the words of the truth from the Buddha for what? To understand what is there now. Not to think about it and I still there. The five khandhas are taken from me all the time. The sanya, the vedana, sankhara khanda, and also vijnana khanda. Right now, when they are not known, there must be the idea of self, and ignorance is there. Not understanding what is there now is ignorance. Even there is anger, it's not me. And when it's kindness, it's not me. Is that true? And how can there be the understanding of that which is not me at moment of anger or attachment without beginning to understand the point, the goal of listening to the truth? For what? Just to understand? What for? Just to understand. I understand. is useless because it cannot let go the idea of self. And the teachings of the Buddha, each word, condition the moment of letting go, little by little, the wrong understanding, the idea of self. Now is the moment that you said in Thai, อาถรรพ์ร่าเริง
And to me, courage or being courageous in this context is an aspect of confidence, which is based on understanding, because it refers to having the courage, having the confidence to go ahead, to act, or to consider things that run contrary to the generally accepted way of understanding the way things are. And that courage or confidence has to be based on a certain level of understanding. But when we started to come across the teaching, it did make sense to us. We had an interest in it. We wanted to understand it further because it seemed to be a correct description of the way things are. And the better one's understanding, the more courage one has to hold to what the Buddha taught rather than to follow one's own instinct or inclination, which is often a reflection of wrong view. And I think it's as simple as that. It's having that degree of confidence in the teaching.
Yeah, I spent a fair amount of time for listening to Kunsushin's old tapes on the internet. And it requires a fair amount of counting. And I do not have much feeling of art and learning. So I'd like to know what is the proper way of listening to Kunsushin's talks in Thai.
Not my word, but the truth of what is there is the Buddha's word from his enlightenment for everyone to consider whether it's true or not. And when it's true, so what? Leave it. Let it be as usual, no understanding, even it's so true, that can be discerned and realized.
And there is no proper way of listening to the Dhamma. For everyone, the listening is according to the accumulated tendency. Of course, it's respectful and so forth, and one is appreciative of the importance of it. But in terms of the feeling that arises when listening, for example, I think one shouldn't be looking for a particular experience of that kind. It's enough that there is the interest to listen, and it conditions reflection, useful reflection at the time and afterwards. There's no need to think I should have more courage, or I'm not feeling this particular kind of courageousness or anything like that.
And I think it's like the first question about having more metta for oneself. The problem again is the clinging to oneself, the expectation, wishing to have more courage, more joy, instead of just letting understanding develop naturally. If there's boredom or frustration or discouragement or aversion, these are just different dhammas that arise and fall away, just like the clinging, whether there's metta now or no metta now, it's conditioned, it has to be that way, whether there's joy at this moment or no joy is conditioned, it can't be any other way. But the clinging, wanting to have more courage or more joy hinders the development of understanding of dhammas as just dhammas. But it has to be like that.
Yeah, good, Sarah. I think you are 100% right. Yeah. So it's all stem from desire or attachment, which means a lack of patience.
Right. And a lack of understanding, conditioning that subtle or not so subtle, clinging to me and my courage or my goodness or my metta. So when there's just acceptance and contentment with whatever is conditioned, whatever appears, there is the letting go at those moments, no discouragement at those moments at all. So this is what is meant by just leaving it to conditions, like when listening, no need to think about, oh, having more joy, or wish there should be more metta, or why can't there be more understanding? Because it's how it has to be. It can't be any other way at that moment. So no one to do anything at all. What arises just has to be the way it is. So this is why understanding leads to the letting go and leads to the having more joy or more contentment naturally.
And
Okay,
people are
okay.
different according to temperament. Some people, one person may think how much understanding is being developed, and another may think how little understanding there is. So as Ajahn is emphasizing, it's better to understand the reality. And then these realities, whether they're kusala or akusala, are just seen as conditioned realities that arise from time to time according to accumulated tendencies. And they become less, it becomes less important whether it's this kind of reaction or that kind of feeling or whatever.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. And I have one more question to Kunsuchin. In what sense the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sanghas are Ratana, gem? Why we regard the Buddha is a Ratana, and Dhamma is a Ratana, and Sangha is a Ratana, gems, triple gems.
What's the meaning of Ratana or gem?
Yeah, so it's what I'd like to know. In what sense they are called Ratanas?
The most precious thing among everything in the world. What is the most precious thing? Reality?
I'd like to say the most important things for life.
Yes, but what is the most important thing? Not to be blind or ignorant.
Generally, we regard wealth or money are most important things in our life. But as a Buddhist, the Buddha and Dhamma and Sanghas are very important.
But actually, what is the three or the teachings? Without right understanding, can there be any three gems?
No.
So just ordinary person to become Buddha by what? Without any understanding, or only the highest understanding, not to anyone, only one who had developed parami enough to have such understanding so great. What he taught is only just a little leaf in his hand, but his understanding is like the leaves in the forest. So even just one word he said, it's not very easy to take it as just I understanding it. For example, Dhamma, just that word, it means no one. But now it's so many people and things. And how can there be the moment of understanding the truth of that just only one at a time? To be sharp enough, firm enough to let go the idea of the self, which has been accumulated in years and years. So right understanding at that level is gem, the best, the most precious thing. Only one to that very person who has enlightened the truth, the Buddha. So Buddha, Ratana, one gem is the enlightened one, the Buddha. Without him, how can anyone not be blind to the truth of this very moment anymore? So great, so precious in samsara, not just in this very moment. It has to be accumulated on and on and on of the truth, which is now, to realize the truth of it naturally by conditions. Otherwise, it cannot let go the idea of self if someone can do, but no one there. This is the point, the highest point, the end of listening, to attain that truth. And without his teaching, Dhammaratana, how can there be understanding of that? So Dhammaratana is what? Nibbana and Lokuttara Dhamma. And how can there be the moment of attaining the truth from the teaching of the truth? So each word of Dhamma condition the understanding of the truth of what is there now. So the one, Sankharatana, is the one who had developed the understanding of the precious thing in life, in the world, and listen and developing right understanding. So the people or the person who had enlightened the truth, or any time, not just in the past, even right now, or in the future, it depends on samsara and the plane of existence that Buddha taught about everything, who has enlightened the truth as Buddha has enlightened, but not by himself, but from the teachings of the enlightened one. At the moment of becoming enlightened, it is that person is Sankharatana, no matter monks or lay people, man or woman, boy or old age, it doesn't matter, because it's the panya which has developed on and on and on. Go on the path little by little until reaching the goal, the enlightenment of the truth of what is there now. No doubt, whatever, anytime.
Tanajan Cup, what is that word, Sankaratana? What was that word you said? I didn't quite hear it properly.
Enlightened one, no matter who, man, woman, boy, girl. Sankaratana means only the Aryan who has enlightened the truth. So the monk now is not the Sangha. If the monk does
Sangha and Ratana, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got it now. Thank you, Tanajan.
So can a person be Sankaratana? Like Visakharamanta, Anathapindika. Because who are Sankaratana? Those who have enlightened, anyone. It's not limited to monk or anyone, but to Panya, which has enlightened the truth.
And that's why one pays respect to the Sangha, to those who have become enlightened and taught the truth, no matter who or when, or whether male, female, monk, lay person, old or young.
Yeah, I have a very worldly idea, even though I'm not wealthy. As far as I have a firm confidence in the triple gem, I have these ratanas or gems in my safety deposit box in my bank. So in that sense, I'm not poor, I'm rich. It's my idea.
Is there any understanding to be rich?
In terms of having faith in triple gems.
What about if you are poor but you has enlightened the truth? Or what about if you are so rich but no understanding of the truth?
Mm.
Who's poor?
Yeah, understanding is important.
This is firm confidence, a little more, a little more.
Mm. Yeah.
No matter what happened, not by you or anyone, but by conditions. Develop on and on in years and years, each moment to be this free moment. If one doesn't think that Dhamma is so very easy, one can understand the subtlety of the enlightenment. What does it mean? Enlighten the truth, and what is the truth? That which now has arisen by conditions and gone. Otherwise, it cannot let go the idea of self permanently or absolutely.
Yeah, understanding reality as they are is most important thing in our lives. But for instance, when I listen to your talks in Thai on the net, I have sort of not strong, but underlying desire to have more sati and panya. So
Does it mean the, excuse me, does it mean the understanding of Dhamma when there's the desire to be such and such, which is not the understanding of the truth?
yeah, no, it's not.
So what's the purpose of listening to the teaching, the true word about the truth of what is there now? What is the point?
To better understanding.
That's why understanding can be at any time of anything when it's a moment of considering each word clearer and clearer and clearer, more firm, to be Sankaratana in the end.
Yeah.
So one can understand the best moment in life is moment of understanding, and that can condition more interest in the truth of this very moment, because usually it goes a long way away from this very moment. Think about this and that and the money in bank and on and on. But what is this very moment? It's gone. No one. When there's no thinking about money in the bank, where's the money? Where's I who have such number of money? Impossible. So actually, the truth is no one. What is now appearing is a reality to be known because it's there as it is, as not self. To develop the understanding of letting go. Because when this comes, where's the money to belong to anyone? Only at moment of thinking about it. While one is sleeping, where's the money? where's I, where's my friend, and where's my possession, my honor, or whatever, never appear at all because actually it's not there. What is there is only Bhavanga Citta. Who can control it or stop it? Impossible by conditions. And this is so true because who knows that how long one will live in this life? It can be only this evening or tomorrow. What about the understanding and let go, the clinging and ignorance of that, which is always there from moment to moment in life? And this is the best thing, the most precious Dhamma Ratana, to go, to get closer and closer to the truth, to realize the Lokuttara Dhamma, Dhamma Ratana, to be Sankharatana. Not me or not anyone, it's only Sankharatana. Realities, natures, not anyone who attained or who has enlightened the truth. So each word should be considered carefully, so very carefully, again and again and again. What for? To condition firm and confidence, firm confidence of the truth of this moment. It has to be now only to be known, and it has to be this moment only, which can be known.
You often say that we have to think carefully again and again, but Picharana or try wrong is not an easy thing. I really do not understand how one can think about realities of this moment.
So, right understanding, understand that actually that is a moment of not understanding what is taken for I. For example, feeling is there, memory is there, Sankhara Khanda is there, Vijnana Khanda is there. Not known, just be attended to that which is there. And usually as something. And instead of thinking of something, it begins to understand, even just thinking of the word. No, I is not me. It can be repeated in mind, but it's not the moment of awareness of the characteristic which is self, but it is the beginning of not forget about the truth. Even thinking in words is conditioned. So one knows that how much understanding of the word of the teaching in a day. What about when there's no hearing in that day at all, and hearing again sometime in a day? This is the difference. This is the development of right understanding by conditions too. No one can do. Only understanding let go more and more by little and little at a time to understand what is there directly. That's why there are different stages of understanding. Intellectual understanding. It seems like someone say it's easy, but actually it's not easy at all to know that what can be known is this very moment. Who think about it? Just think about the story of what is said. But what for? To listen to the words of truth, to condition moment of understanding what is there now. Otherwise, it's not the second stage. The patipati is only the pariyati. And this is courageous, courage, patience to understand the truth, which is now there as it is. And it can show up to panya, which let go, clinging to that which is before the moment of direct understanding, and that which follow this moment with attachment, covers up the truth. That's why Buddha taught about everything. For example, what is the opposite of metta? What is the enemy of metta that hinder the metta to arise? See, not how can I? Impossible. That's wrong. So the understanding of Dhamma is not enough as long as there is the idea to do, not understanding the truth of anatta. So Buddha taught about why cannot the metta arise. There must be conditions too. And what is the near enemy? Then to metta, see? Without understanding only, just craving to have metta, impossible. Not letting go anything at all. And each word of the Buddha conditioned letting go. What about having metta with understanding of not me, no one, and just I have metta? What is the teaching of the Buddha? To consider each word, which means the truth, the absolute truth, the subtlety of the reality of each reality. Even metta, only right understanding can tell or can know whether it's not attachment, it's metta, or whether it is metta, not attachment at all. And it's there in daily life, not known, and learning the teaching, consider it carefully, will condition little by little to have more understanding, which is the reality which let go, wrong understanding and ignorance. So subtle, so natural, so long, but so true. So there can be the moment of considering whether can there be other way to realize the truth, to let go of ignorance and clinging right now, and more in the future. Not just only one moment of ignorance and attachment.
Okay, thank you very much. And one more thing, just before you mentioned about death, Marana. And I used to be afraid of death, Marana, but I do not have such fear now because I've understood that death is a one occurrence of Chuti Chitta. Just one moment of Chuti Chitta. That is the death. And Chuti Chitta has to be followed by Patisanti Chitta. So nothing to be worried about. There is no reason to be afraid of death. That's my understanding of death right now.
Yes, very good. But can it happen right now? Death.
Yeah. It does.
See, that's right. It's just falling asleep.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Who knows the moment of going to sleep? It can be now, going to die. The same reality, the Pavanka Chitta has the same object as Patisanti Chitta, but this also has the same object as Pavanka. So exactly the same, like falling asleep. It's not so fearful because it can be next moment. Instead of staying weary, it's like this, falling asleep.
Yes.
That's falling asleep.
Yeah.
That is courage, right?
Yes.
To be courageous to understand the truth, because it's now unknown. It can be known little by little. until it's not there anymore. So long, but so absolutely true. To be Sankaratana.
Yeah.
So Ratana is not easy. It's so great too, but not as great as Buddha and Dhamma.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much. Very, very much. Thank you.
It can develop on and on naturally, not try to do anything, but understanding that very moment, what is there? A reality, which performing its function, just intend to do something and then gone, change the object by conditions all the time.
And thank you to Dao for those questions. I think we've all had a glimpse of the beauty and the profundity and the depth of Dhamma by way of Tanajan. You know, Tanajan, that was really so wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Appreciate the Dhamma, the word of the truth from the Buddha, the enlightened one. And this is the best kind of worshipping the three things, to understand the truth of the three things.
Ajahn, the second gem is you were saying it's also the Nibbana and Lokuttara Dhammas. Is that, I think I understood that you were saying that it's the teachings of the Buddha, but also the Lokuttara Dhammas and Nibbana. Is that Dhammaratana, right?
Yeah, that was my understanding. That was my understanding, Alberto, that the Dhammaratana is the teachings. And to Dao, you're probably familiar, of course, with the Ratana Sutta, you know, and I think what we've had was really a wonderful discourse on what Ratana truly is. Yeah, the most sublime thing. Actually, there is a verse in the Ratana Sutta which I appreciate. Just as simply as Waro Waranyu Warado Waraharo. It's talking about the Buddha Ratana, which describes the Buddha as the most excellent. Waro Waranyu, the knower of the most excellent, the bringer of the most excellent, and the giver of the most excellent. And I think in some respects we've had a little bit of that this morning.
Alberto, were you just asking whether the Lokuttara Dhammas are included in the Dhammaratana? Was that your question?
Yes, I was listening to Ajahn, and I think she said that Dhammaratana is the Lokuttara Dhamma and Nibbana as well.
Yes, I heard the same, Alberto. Yes,
Yeah.
because she was saying that without the Buddha, the enlightened one, there couldn't be the Lokuttara Dhammas and the experience of Nibbana, which is the Dhammaratana.
I mean, I would have thought that those Lokuttara Dhammas is included in the Sangha Ratana, and that the Dhammaratana itself is reference to just the teachings.
I think it's depending on interpretation, because I think Nibbana, of course, to me represents the Dhamma, the teachings of the Dhamma, and of course that's made possible by way of the Samma Sambuddho. And of course, those Dhammas, those deep Dhammas, those profound Dhammas are also known by the Aryan Sangha. So in a way, they're kind of all interrelated and interconnected. But I would, if I had to define it, I would definitely put the Ratana with the Dhamma, because that's what the Buddha teaches. He teaches the Dhamma, and as Ajahn reminds us, the Dhamma is about panya, which can arise now, which we need to remember and often are very forgetful of by conditions.
I mean, what I understand is the Buddha, the first Ratana is the from where the second and the third Ratana comes. And I think we need to separate each. I mean, they're different. And therefore, if you say that Nibbana and Lokuttara are there in the second and third, it seems to be, not making it clear, the distinction.
Is the word Ratana or is the truth Ratana?
You put it that way, then I'd say it's the truth.
For example, iti piso pakawa. What does it mean? We can talk about or learn about the virtues of the Buddha. Iti piso pakawa. And then for Dhamma, Ratana, Sawa Kato Padwata Tanmo Santitiko, and so on. See, without the enlightenment of the Buddha, can that person become the enlightened one? So, but when we use the term Buddha, what do we mean? The virtues of that special one, only one in the whole world, in samsara or in universe. And for Dhamma, if it's not the Lokuttara Dhamma, can Lopa, which is Dhamma, be Ratana?
The Lopa, of course, is not Ratana, but without the teachings, there cannot be understanding of Lopa as Lopa.
That's why when we talk about Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo, say, taught by the Buddha, Santitiko, Akaliko, Ehipastiko, all concern the enlightenment. The Lokuttara Dhamma include the teachings of the Buddha. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo, see? And for the Savako, different ones. Supatipanno, Bhagavato, and so on. Otherwise, we just recite the word, not understanding the meaning of each word, the difference between the three. Because for Sankaratana, it doesn't include the teachings of whom? The enlightened one. Because the teachings, it is just about the development of understanding to realize the Dhamma, Lokuttara Dhamma.
So, John, what you're saying is that similarly to Pariyati, it's not just the words. When we say Dhamma Ratana, we also refer to what those Dhammas refer to, the reality of those Dhammas.
That's why each word should be studied to understand the absolute truth, so very subtle. Just Buddha. Who's the Buddha? If there's no understanding of reality, can there be the understanding or the knowing who's the Buddha and what's meant by Buddha?
Yeah, without the reality, there's no understanding. There has to be understanding of reality to understand what the words, the value of the words itself.
Buddha has enlightened the truth, and the Savaka also enlightened the truth. But who's the Buddha and who's the Savaka? See, that's why there are three Ratanas.
Yes, that makes sense. And yeah, I think it's clearer now. Thank you, Chan. Thank you very much.
Can we change the three Ratanas? Not to be Buddha Ratana, Dhamma Ratana, and Sangha Ratana?
No.
And I
Can
think
we Sangha Ratana be Dhamma Ratana?
It's all about the understanding of all three are about understanding, but different aspects of the same reality, which is Panya and all the. I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's right. Three words should be understood clearly, otherwise no understanding of what we say, Buddhang Sarang Kacchami and Dhammang Sarang Kacchami and Sanghang Sarang Kacchami. Because can the Savaka, even the Savaka, it has enlightened the truth, be the Buddha, Dhamma, Ratana, be the Ratana, Buddha and Dhamma?
No way, no, not at all.
So even Dhammaratana is just Dhammaratana, but the one who has enlightened, see, not as the others, only one, that is Buddha. And the one who has enlightened from hearing, considering, developing to be the level of Sangha, can it be changed to other level? Impossible. That's why there are three Ratana, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. The truth cannot be changed.
I think that when referring to the truth here, it's referring to the realization of the truth. So when it's Ratana, Dhamma, which is Ratana, it is the full realization of the truth. But of course, without the development of understanding, there can never be that realization, which is the Ratana. So that's why I think Ajahn was referring to the Lokuttara Dhammas and Nibbana, moments of realization. Because now there can be understanding, but it's not the Ratana at the moment of enlightenment.
Is Sotapanna Sangharatana?
Yes.
Yes.
Even they are not Arahata, see?
Because there has been the realization of Nibbana, of the unconditioned reality.
So who are Sangharatana? It's taught because of the truth. Even Sotapanna is not Arahata, but she or he is Sangharatana because of the enlightenment of the truth.
And it says that, and it says that clearly, Tanajan, when we pay tribute to the Sangha, when when it's referred to the Sotapati Magga and Pala, which are 2 of the 8 moments that are recognized, which understand Nibbana. So when we pay tribute to the Sangha, those moments, those 2 moments, as you know, not a person, are acknowledged as the wisdom which realizes Nibbana.
It's also joy to know that it can be realized to become Sotapatimaka or Sankaratana. So long way, but so true, so clear, no doubt about what is meant by the reality which has its characteristic in a day, at any time in life, in samsara. That's why they are all learned savaka, only arahata is not the learned one.
And that's why to Tao, the joy comes from the understanding of the Dhammas or the appreciation of the Dhammas, not the thinking of me and, oh, what about I've got a long way, or what about my little understanding? Because that just leads to the opposite, the discouragement.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, just to know that there is ignorance isn't that cause for joy? Just to know ignorance as ignorance.
To understand whatever appears anytime. It's just Dhamma not belonging to me, not needing to do anything or setting any rules at all, no trying at all. That is joyful.
And even that has been known as no one, see, how long way to go to be truthful to the truth. It's not anyone who can judge, but right understanding knows exactly what it is.
And that's why, Acharya, you never stress enough about no self, because the self always comes in all the time.
What about feeling now? What about sanya, remembering now? See, what about sankhara? Thinking like this, and whatever appears from in this moment and other moment from now has to be known clearly. Stage by stage, little by little, letting go, little by little, until all wrong understanding let go. It's letting go. Only by understanding the truth clearer and clearer and clearer until each one appears as it is, not as the other thing or anyone at all. Through 6 doorways. And when it's clear, it has to be the minder. Because now minder does not appear at all. How can it be clear to know the difference between the sensor and the minder? It's only Panya which has experienced the minder to understand the difference between the sensor and the minder. Each word of the Buddha has to be considered to let go wrong understanding which has conditioned by ignorance. So one appreciate the teachings of the Buddha because it's so true, and it conditioned the moment of understanding the truth. And that moment is letting go little by little wrong understanding with attachment. And understanding the second truth, as long as it's there, it hinders the truth of the three moments. No awareness, no understanding to understand what is there.
So, Achan, in a way, when we're talking about what's precious, we were talking about the triple gems as being the most precious. Isn't it really, in fact, the only precious? There's nothing else that's precious.
It's the understanding of the truth. Is it precious to understand what is there now as it is?
It seems when there's understanding, this is the only thing that's worth anything.
So, what's the virtue of the Buddha? The great wisdom, see, panya of that degree. That's why that should be the understanding of each word deeper and deeper too.
Well, Sukhina would say that all kusala is precious, but the understanding is much more precious than the other kinds.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too earlier, but then again, I was also thinking about kusala that just leads to more rebirth. Why would you consider that precious?
The most precious, it's said in Tipitaka, is right understanding.
Yeah.
All levels of kusala are valuable.
Kusala itself doesn't lead to more rebirth. The mundane kusala.
Yeah, the mundane.
On the other hand, it doesn't lead to more rebirth. It's just that it doesn't lead out of samsara either, in the way that understanding does.
Right.
But the other kusala that is not understanding doesn't itself lead to more rebirth.
But wouldn't a kusala karma condition birth? I mean, as in human beings?
Yeah, I'm finding that what you're saying, Jonathan, I'm not sure about that. I mean, kusala karma, which is part of Paticca Samuppada, the sankhara, abhisankhara, even with the highest kind, does lead to more and more birth. Even to if you develop that level of understanding, that leads to birth and the rupa lokas. So I always think Kunsukin that all kusala is always valuable, but we know that it's going to take a long time to get out of samsara, and I would always say that yes, kusala, when there's panya involved, is the most valuable. That's certainly true, but I think when we think of the all levels of kusala are valuable because they arise by conditions, and that cannot be changed at that particular point in time. but as time, and if there is panya, and we've been fortunate enough to hear the wise teacher and attend wisely to what they say, there can be more conditions for panya. And even those moments of panya, when there hasn't been the higher levels of panya, then of course there'll be conditions for birth. Even when the Sota Patimagga has been attained, there are still conditions for rebirth. But we know, of course, that no more rebirth in lower worlds.
And what we can say is when there are moments of kusala, for example, when there is metta, there is no clinging, no dosa at those moments. That's all. So it's not precious as understanding is precious. But when there's metta with understanding, then it's a support, it's a parami. But even when it's without understanding, at least there are no conditions for akusala at those moments.
Just in reply, Sukin, on the point of kusala conditioning rebirth, even panya can be a root of the padisanijitta. So we're talking about different things here. On the one hand, it's just conditioning the realm of the rebirth, but not conditioning further existence in samsara. Need to make that distinction, I think.
I'm not appreciating this distinction I think you're trying to make, Jonathan. So let me clarify. You seem to be saying that initially that kusala is not a condition for rebirth. Is that correct? Sorry.
Not really. I'm saying that kusala does not condition continued existence in samsara in the way that akusala does attachment, for example.
But isn't kusala part of Sankhara-Dhamma? Sankhara-Dhamma.
John is saying is the cause of dukkha. The second noble truth is lopa.
Yes, I understand that. But perhaps there's a fine distinction that's being made here, and which I'm perhaps not fully appreciating, but it does seem to me that kusala Dhamma by themselves, even at the highest level, will be conditioned for rebirth.
Are we now forgetting about as long as there is ignorance, there must be birth?
Certainly, John, that's true. And when there is kusala, there is the root of avijja there.
As anusya?
As anusya.
Because unwholesome citasika cannot arise with wholesome citasika.
True, Tamajan.
That's why no matter the kusala developed to the high degree of rupajana, it's still conditioned birth, as long as there still is avijja.
True, John.
So only arahata cannot have condition to condition birth at all. Paticca Samuppada. Now, avijja condition sankhara, and sankhara condition what?
Vijnanam kampa.
Mm-hmm. So
is
this
rebirth, which is rebirth.
To condition birth. As long as avijja is still there as anusya, and when it arises different degrees, sankhara, And now, what is there from moment to moment? Condition, birth,
Avijja Tanajam.
and sankhara.
Of course, Tanajam.
So it's now sankhara for next life. The thinking, the idea, and so on, develop, accumulated to condition next life by many, many conditions. The collection of the Dhamma, which can produce results in the next birth as animal or human being or deva, all comes from now in this life.
So, Achan, we can see how great this Lokuttara Dhammas are, the path consciousness, and fruition consciousness, that the path consciousness, particularly, that it can eradicate all this. You were just saying that right now there's accumulation for more rebirth, but then if there's a magga, it can just eradicate and everything just goes away. And this is, I think, why we need to appreciate the meaning of the Sangha Ratana. It's such a great Dhamma, such a great achievement.
So how precious it is, how difficult, how long to develop the understanding which can eradicate ignorance with attachment, with wrong understanding, never to arise again in samsara. And from that moment on,
And all those upana kamma sukhin at the moment of Sotapatimagga that might have conditioned rebirth in those horrible hell worlds, they can arise no more. Well, excuse me, I'll put it better than that. There are not conditions for those previously done upana kamma to bring results in lower worlds once Sotapatimagga has been attained.
So the kusala qualities are to be developed, whereas the akusala qualities are to be abandoned. So there's a big difference between the two. In terms of what is precious, what can be considered precious.
Right. And we are always encouraged that when there's kusala, there's no ignorance. So, right, no more, at that moment, at least no ignorance is being accumulated.
But as Tanajan said, there is a latent tendency.
But not more, not increasing.
No, true, but it's latent there. The potential for a kusala to arise is there.
Not accumulating more ignorance or more clinging at those moments either. So like we discussed before, moments of metta, no clinging to having metta at those moments. So moments of metta condition the accumulation, the habit of more metta, whereas the clinging to having more metta just accumulates the habit of clinging more and more to oneself and having metta. So this is why the different realities have to be understood as they are.
But Sarah, this habit of more metta, it also comes with, if there's no panya, then it's also the habit of taking metta for self.
Then it's not metta at those moments. So it's only understanding that can understand what metta is, and understand metta as a Dhamma. And this is what conditions metta to arise and accumulate the habit so that it's more and more natural to be friendly or considerate and less clinging to the idea of having metta for oneself. Because now there are the strong habits of clinging to oneself, clinging to having goodness, clinging to being this or that kind of person. So only through the development of understanding and the appreciation of the distinction between, say, the characteristic of metta and the characteristic of clinging, can the habit of kindness or friendliness accumulate instead of just more and more clinging to oneself as usual.
I mean, the point of the Buddha's teachings is understanding no matter what, kusala, akusala. So
whatever appears, and it's that understanding of what appears, understanding what appears, the Dhamma as Dhamma, that will naturally condition more kusala of all kinds. Because as you said, without understanding, who knows what metta is? One just thinks of a situation or an occasion, like taking care of the sick dog or this or that, but no understanding of what metta is, just for a moment and then gone, different from the moments of clinging. Without understanding, nothing is known at all. It's not understood what is kindness or generosity or compassion. Nothing is understood without understanding. Does anyone else have any question or topic they want to bring up? Because there's not a lot of time left.
Ajahn, I have a question about in the commentary. It says that all the Buddhas are born in Jambudvipa and they speak Magadhi language, and I think there must be it's one of these topic which can be very easily misunderstood and think like maybe that in India is a special place and the Pali language is a special language. And so can you explain a bit about this? Actually, I think I was thinking one of the reasons for this is because all the Buddha must accumulate enough parami for so long that when they're born as in their last lifetime, they must have they have similar condition for being rebirth for the last rebirth. But I'm just guessing, and so maybe you can say something, or maybe not. Thank you, John.
Alberto, I'm not sure what your question was. It's not. I don't find it easy to hear what you're saying. What your question was?
Okay.
Can you perhaps try?
Yes,
please try again.
Sorry. Yeah, I was asking about all the different Buddhas. They have similar circumstances, like the place of birth. They are born in Jambudvipa, and they must speak the same language, which is Magadhi language. I think I've read this on in the commentary in Tipitaka. So there must be a reason for saying this, and I was wondering what the reason could be. That's all. It's maybe I'm not. Maybe I have some problem with my system, and my audio is not very clear. I apologize for this.
Is your question, Alberto, is your question whether this should be taken literally or not?
Yes. Yes, as I said, it's something about the specific of the circumstances of being a Samasambuddha, which is different from all other beings. Also, yeah, another one is the 32 physical marks, which all Buddhas must share, and only the Buddhas. So I was thinking what. Another one is the being born in India and speaking the Pali language. I think I read this as well, but I don't know. So I think that
you're wondering about the significance of this.
Yeah, I think it's more subtle than one would think, or maybe. But I was just guessing about all the paramis which they must accumulate to be born as Buddha. And as I said, it's just thinking about it. But maybe it's not that important anyway. That's about it. Thank you.
Sarah, we can't.
I just think.
Sorry,
I just think,
yes.
Alberto, that I just think, Alberto, that it truly is would be a great blessing, the highest blessing, to be born in the in the middle country, sometimes called Jambudvipa, at the time when the Buddha was around. That would be an amazing blessing. And you're mentioning the 32 Mahalakkhana, the great marks, which are the marks. Apparently Kassapa had 5 of these, but that's not so important. But but the Buddha had all of them, which is emblematic of the highest wisdom and the highest beauty, which is reflected in his body because he had the highest panya possible. So to be born in that place, to be taught by such a most magnificent and beautiful person, in the truest sense of the word that Ajahn has alluded to this morning, the highest panya, that truly must truly be a great blessing. And of course, we know we're not in the middle country, literally at this point in time, but I think we can all say we are truly blessed when we hear the Dhamma, whatever language that we happen to hear it in. That is truly a great blessing. So I don't think there's necessarily anything, because you and I know that there'll be many people in the Buddha's time, perhaps who lived next door to Savatthi, but they weren't interested in the Dhamma. They knew the Magadhi Bhasawa, they knew the Magadhi language, but they didn't have the accumulations to appreciate it. So it would have been a great blessing to be born there. It would have been a greater blessing if they had the panya or some level of it to appreciate it, instead of, as we know, there are teachers of the time, Purana Kassapa, Makali Gosala, and all those other fellows, who taught really funny and strange things when we recognise them now, and they'd be wrong and dangerous. So while it's a great blessing to be born there, in some respects, perhaps even just to see the Buddha, but if there's not the accumulated panya, there can be moments of that for us here in this part of the world, and we're all spread all over the world when we listen to it. That's a marvelous thing. That's a wonderful thing. It's the blessings of technology in some respects. So I think that, it's wonderful to be born at the time of the Buddha. Wonderful if you've got the accumulated panya to understand it. But we know there have to be special conditions for that. And perhaps who knows, you and I may have been there in some respects. But we're very, very fortunate to have Tanajan who can explain the Dhamma and help us to see the Dhamma. And of course, that doesn't matter where we are.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Sundara.
We are where the conditions are right. So I think similarly, Chambutavi and Magadhi is just reference to conditions, the best of conditions.
I think, like you say, Alberto, there are sort of many subtle aspects, because I've read the same about the 30 or more regulations for all Buddhas, like must be a male, must be always in this place, and so on. And so because being a male is a result of more kusala karma, and being in this place in India where there are those who are able to appreciate and understand the teachings, like in this last Buddha's life. So I think there are many considerations and subtle points with regard to each one. I don't know if Ajahn would like to have any last words, because otherwise we can continue next time.
Can there be the understanding of this moment, of thinking about that? Otherwise, it's useless moment. So many things that we can think about without any understanding of the truth, because it's not there and it's not here. If we postpone the moment of right understanding to the other object as is so very important, how can there be condition to come back to this moment? Even we talk about this moment, it's not conditioned to understand, to be aware of the truth right now. So I think that the word of truth can condition more understanding of what is there. So at that moment, can there be a moment of understanding that it's not I, but it's a reality which thinks, not that which sees and hears? Just talk about this in order to be conditioned to understand the precious moment that it can be right now when there's more understanding, letting go the idea of self and attachment, which is there when it's not moment of kusala. Just to see and let go the idea and thinking about the other things to develop the understanding little by little of the precious moment is this very moment, to understand what is there from hearing and considering again and again and again, and let go the other idea which cling not just only to what you said about the Buddhas here and there and place and here and there, or more than that, whatever in life all day, not only this. And I think that this is also the words of the Buddha too.
Thank you, Ajahn. Perhaps we can continue next time. Sabdika.
Yeah, thank you so very much.
ขอบคุณมากครับท่านอาจารย์สวัสดีครับ Thank you everybody.
Bye, everyone.
กราบเท้าท่านอาจารย์ค่ะ
See you all next week.